Hello everyone and welcome to another Top 5 Records video. Yesterday The Who released something very special from their archives. The Who live at the Oval 1971. And although we have a number of Who live releases, this is one that I'm particularly excited about. Well, why? The Who is genuinely believed to be one of the best live bands ever. And their late 60s to early 70s period is of particular interest because they were so incredibly good. Now, there are great live records from that era, from The Who. We have the Isle of Wight with a beautiful concert film. There is Live at Hull, which was a couple of nights after this one, the legendary The Who Live at Leeds. This tops loads of lists of best live albums ever. And it's so incredibly interesting and special that if you would have picked any other show from that tour, like The Who Live at Hull, like Woodstock, like the Isle of Wight show, they all play incredible. Which compares different to, for example, Deep Purple's Made in Japan from the same live era, but when you listen to the full recordings, you can hear that they picked the best recordings. And I've heard shows from those Japan shows, or numbers from those Japan shows, in which you hear, oh yeah, they nailed some and they didn't nail some others, which is okay. The Who was always on top of their game. Now, why is a show from 1971 so special? Well, because the tour from 1969 and 1970 is basically the Tommy tour, and most of the set list was Tommy. 1971 is the tour in which they had a new album, the Who's Next, and Who's Next is also just as much as Tommy believed to be a masterpiece. I love that record. It has so many great songs, and it drastically changed the set list. Now, we have not had a standalone show from the 1971 tour officially released. So this is the first standalone release of The Who Live at Oval 1971. So, what does it sound like? Well, first of all, there are some fans who had bootleg copies of this show before. And the quality of those bootleg copies was not that good. So if you own a bootleg copy, you're not interested in this, keep your focus, because this new release is newly mixed from the original 8-track analog tapes. So that makes it even more fascinating. This is completely fresh. Taking a look at the track list, listening to the songs, which I did just earlier, they open with So Glad to See Ya, which is like I believe this to be an improvisation. It's very short, it's really nice, it's completely different from what they did before, opening with Heaven and Hell. Love that song though. But after these seconds of improv, they dive into Summertime Blues. That's a cover that they did a couple of times earlier. I believe it's an Eddie Cochran cover, but at the top of my head. This is actually part of the opening, that song. And I never heard them open with this song. There is a beautiful fury in the voice of Roger Daltrey. He sounds really fresh. Dare I even say, fresher than the legendary Leeds or Kilburn show, or even Isle of Wight. Also interesting. In the making of the Who's Next, Townsend and Daltrey spoke about that Roger Daltrey, before going into the studio, took special care of his vocal techniques, so that he would go into the studio and became an even better vocalist than at the time of Tommy or the live shows from Tommy. And you do notice that straight on his technique improved. His range, the higher notes, they are more solid. There's a lot of power here. Daltrey improved. Not just Daltrey sounds incredible here. Keith Moon is all over the place. It's just stunning, the vibrant energy. Perhaps he's even more energetic because he really digs the new track list, the new vibe going on, Who's Next is dripping all over from this setlist. Sound quality is okay. It's not as good as the shows that I mentioned earlier. There is a certain harshness in the sound, and there is a certain distance in the quality. Nevertheless, it's good enough, and it's far, far, far from bootleg quality. Also, the mixing is solid, but I'll go into the mixing a little bit later on in the review. Deltry nailed these vocals. Third song, My Wife, getting into the Who's Next, and I love this tune. Keith Moon is really intense here. He is so good. There's some awesome improvisation at the end. Something I thought this song wouldn't lend itself for. Though the quality of the recording is not that spectacular, it's not really bad as well. The mix here is really, really good. There is an incredible dynamics on the bass of John Entwistle here. You really feel what he's doing, how he's bringing the songs together, how he's nailing it. The performance of Keith Moon, again, it is insane, and he's so good present on this recording. Track number 4. Love Ain't For Keeping, and that's not per se one of my favorite Who's Next tracks, but man, they nail it. The backing vocals here are beautiful. 5th track, Can't Explain. Here the new improvement on Deltry is very noticeable. What a power, what a control, and what a clarity in the way he's singing. 6th song, Substitute. I love what John Entwistle is doing here. This is overall not as energetic as played in earlier shows. I think you can hear that Deltry is getting slightly out of breath here, but man, this is nitpicking on the best live band on some of their best moments. Track number 7, Bargain. Another Who's Next track. If Deltry was out of breath on Substitute, he is back right now. Man, this song sounds so fresh and energetic. The scream is the scream that Deltry does in "Best I Ever Had," but he goes higher, than what I'm doing here, and he goes flat, and I love it because he is losing it, and I love it. In a certain way, he's more in control of his voice. You hear his technique as improved, but there are moments in which he is willing to risk it all to give the extra edge, and I love that. Then we get the 8th song, Behind Blue Eyes. I'm really excited to hear this, and they nail it. This is the best live version of the song I've heard. Very gentle, very fresh, very subtle. Love it. We go into Won't Get Fooled Again with the tape, with the and you really need that tape for this song, so it's okay. The timing of the drums and the guitars is in the opening not where it should be, but overall I'm fine with that because they nailed the song. Love this song, great song. Then we get to the number 10, and this is the first moment in which I think, they do a Marvin Gaye cover, Baby Don't You Do It. And honestly, this is one of the few and perhaps even only Who songs or cover songs that they do from the first decade of the band that I think really doesn't work. It is ballsy to cover Marvin Gaye. And though the Who remain great players and they do a great job working together, this song needs a very strong emotional vocal built around identity. You need somebody with a soul, gospel, or perhaps even blues roots to sing this. And you hear that Roger Daltrey is trying to force himself into sounding raspier and bluesier, and in the first decade or so, there are other moments in which he does that. I don't think those are his strongest moments, and as a matter of fact, on this track, you really hear what he's missing. Yeah, this is a really weak moment for Daltrey. He's an amazing hard rock vocalist, but he's not deeply rooted enough to attempt blues. song number 11, Pinball Wizard. And this is the first song after about an hour of show from Tommy, which makes this a completely different set list than a year before. And I think that's a great step to go. I love Tommy, nevertheless. But I imagine that after 2 years of excessively touring Tommy, they would like a break from that material. And they play the song professionally, they do a good job, but there are no sparks. Pun intended. 12th song, See Me, Feel Me, and Listening to You. And they really do this. Perhaps one of the best versions I've heard them do. This song is actually more difficult than you might think. I used to play in The Who tribute band, and I always thought that this would be easy, but the timing of the opening, keeping it going with the small amount of notes for the vocalist, and the lots of air in between. When do you strike the guitar? And then there's the building in the speed with the repetition. That's very tough, and they nail it. Spot on, perfectly. This is really good stuff. Going into My Generation, which is a pretty smooth sounding version, smoother than I've heard them play it otherwise. Great flow in this performance. We go to Naked Eye. They really sound as if they love these new songs even more. And they end up with Magic Bus, final song. And I can't get past my admiration for the Live at Leeds version, which is just stunning with the way the harmonica builds up, and this one doesn't have that brilliant opening, the brilliant build up, but it has swing. It's really good, and overall a great ending to a mesmerizing show. I'm so happy they released it. What a live release. Whew. Really excited about this. So what do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Leave a comment below and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.